Chapter 534. What a powerful demon qi! Yichen could not help but be shocked. Demon qi was also a kind of yuan qi. Normally, the yuan qi in the world would be distributed in a balanced manner. Every kind of yuan qi would be present, and the natural element yuan qi would be the largest. The other yuan qi would be reduced according to their rarity, and the demon qi would be one of the rarest yuan qi. Right now, the demon qi in the sky above the Morong family was not weaker than the natural element yuan qi, which had darkened the sky. Morong Jishui explained, in the demi-demon race, other than the perfect demi-demon bloodline, although the others could only train Jin Yuan, they would be tainted by the demon qi when training. The higher the bloodline, the more demon qi would be tainted. Our Morong family has more than 10,000 people, so the demon qi that we have gathered together has affected the yuan qi distribution in the sky. It is also one of the reasons why our family is so low-key. Leader. A group of guards flew into the sky, holding their fists together to greet Morong Jishui. Morong Jishui nodded slightly and said, "This is Yi Chen, Mr. Yi." "Greetings, Mr. Yi." Shock flashed through the guards' eyes. Obviously, they had all heard of Yi Chen's name. After all, there was no power in the whole southern sector that did not know about Yi Chen. If they did not know, then they would not be far from being annihilated. If they were not well informed, what would they do if they were attacked? While I was away, nothing happened in the family, right? Morong Jishui asked casually. The leader of the guards hesitated a bit before saying, "Leader, 3 days ago, people from the Yuan family came and took away the young miss and the leader's mother." "What?" Morong Jishui's expression turned cold. "How dare they? What right do they have to take away my daughter?" The leader of the guards replied, "The headmaster had agreed to it. The leader's mother was afraid that the young miss would be taken advantage of, so she followed them as well." This bastard. Mentioning the headmaster, Morong Jishui's face turned green. "Who came from the Yuan family?" Suppressing his anger, Morong Jishui said with a low voice, "It is the third master and the fifth master of the Yuan family." The ones who came are actually elders. It seems like they're not only here to bring people over, but also to intimidate. Morong Jishui was very clear about the power of the Yuan family. As the main family of the demi-demon family, the elders of the Yuan family were either master level C of Soul's Realm warriors or top spirit level warriors. And the top 10 elders would all be master level C of Soul's Realm warriors. Let's go back first. Morong Jishui's good mood had been ruined, and he was very frustrated. But he also knew that he had already been taken away for 3 days, and he would not be able to catch up. Plus, even if he did, there were 2 master level C of Soul's Realm warriors. Yi Chen, in a couple of days, we will go to the Yuan family together. Just bear with it for now. Meanwhile, Morong Jishui passed on a message to Yi Chen. Yi Chen nodded. "I know, uncle. There were many people from the Morong family who came to greet him." But Morong Jishui ignored them and walked towards the hall. When he reached the hall, he ordered someone to invite the great elder over. Inside the hall, all of the Morong family's elders were gathered together, and Yi Chen sat on the first seat on the right. Soon, a middle-aged man with a bulky body and sharp eyes walked over. He looked to be 7 or 8 years older than Morong Jishui, and was about 50 years old. He was tall and muscular, and as he walked he gave off a powerful aura. "Third brother." The middle-aged man did not call him leader, but called him third brother. Morong Jishui's eyebrows flicked as he said coldly, "Morong Wang, were you the one who agreed to let my daughter go to the Yuan family? I remember that I am the leader of the Morong family, right? What right do you have to make such a decision?" The Morong Wang he was talking about was indeed the great elder, who was also his big brother. Morong Wang sat on the first seat on the left. After glancing at Yi Chen, he said slowly, "Sooner or later, she will still have to go. This is the truth. Plus, there is nothing wrong with Qingqing marrying into the Yuan family. Only there would she be able to bring out her full potential. If you really want what's best for Qingqing, then I have nothing to say. But according to what I know, your son wants to marry the third daughter of the Yuan family's branch. Is that true? What does my son marrying have to do with this?" "That would depend on who your son marries. Marrying a girl with a rather good bloodline from the Yuan family, Do you think they would agree? I think you are trying your best to make my daughter marry Yuan Yi, so that you can negotiate with them. Am I right? Morong Jishui was very angry. Third brother, this is already done. No matter what I do, it will not change anything. So whether I do it or not, there is no conflict. You are the leader of the Morong family. Do not be reckless and drag your wife and daughter into this. Morong Wang was not happy, so he changed the way he addressed him. Qingqing is my daughter. I do not need you to lecture me. As for your son, I can guarantee that the Yuan family would not agree. Do you really think that you can negotiate with them? They are the Yuan family after all. Morong Jishui calmed down. Morong Wang sneered. You do not need to worry about that. If there is nothing else, I will excuse myself for now. Standing up, Morong Wang walked out. When he was about to step out of the lobby, he turned around and looked at Yi Chen. I forgot to mention this. It would be best if you do not provoke the Yuan family. The rule of the demi-demon family is not something that you can change. Bringing him here would only humiliate him. Yi Chen, right? If I were you, I would leave immediately. The Yuan family is way more powerful than you can imagine. Any young warrior from there would be able to beat the whole southern region's young generation. Plus, you have to know that after reaching the Sea of Souls realm, anyone below the age of 40 would be considered a young warrior. I am afraid you are still limited to those below the age of 30, right? Yi Chen took a deep breath. Of course, Yi Chen knows about this. How could he not know about the definition of the young generation in the Sea of Souls realm? At the astral reaching realm, people below the age of 30 would be considered as the young generation, and those in their 20s would be considered as the young generation. At the Sea of Souls realm, people below the age of 40 would be considered as the young generation, and those below the age of 30 would be considered as the young generation. The reason why it was so close was mainly because of potential. At the astral reaching realm, warriors below the age of 30 would have the most potential, so they would be considered as the young generation. As for those in their 30s, although they would still be considered young, their potential would be almost used up. Once they reached the Sea of Souls realm, their potential would increase a bit, but it would still be limited. After reaching the age of 40, they would not have much potential anymore, and would not be considered as the young generation anymore. All in all, the young generation in this world was not measured by age, but by potential. Otherwise, Sea of Souls realm warriors could live up to 300 years, and 60 years old would only be equivalent to 20 years old for clasping Yuan realm warriors. Morong Wang said that any random young warrior from the Yuan family would be able to beat all of the young warriors in the southern region was indeed a bit exaggerated. But it would not be too exaggerated, because people in Yi Chen's generation were all below the age of 30, and the young warriors of the Yuan family were not limited to below the age of 30. They were all below the age of 40, and Yi Chen and the rest had lived 10 years less than them, so it would be normal for them to be weaker than them. If they were at the same age, saying that the young warriors of the Yuan family could beat all of the young warriors in the South Ridra region would be an exaggeration. Huh. Seeing that Yi Chen was not scared at all, Morong Wang sneered. In his opinion, Yi Chen was still basking in his identity as the king warrior of the southern region. But that was only for warriors below the age of 30. If he were above the age of 30, he would only be humiliated, and no one would give him any face. As for the Dragon King, he would not come out to stop him just because he was humiliated, since the Yuan family would not really kill Yi Chen for real. Pausing for a second, Morong Wang waved his sleeves and left. This must be Yi Chen. Among the elders of the Morong family, a square-faced elder looked at Yi Chen without any expression. Morong Jishui introduced. Everyone, he is Yi Chen, the martial genius that the Dragon King thinks highly of. There are a lot of martial geniuses out there. I wonder what kind of power he has to stop this marriage. Third brother, you should know how many powerful warriors there are in the young generation of the Yuan family, right? The square-faced elder was Morong Jishui's brother, who was ranked 5th. Hearing him, Morong Jishui chuckled and did not answer. Instead, he passed on his Zhen Yuan to Yi Chen. Yi Chen, it seems like the elders do not really believe in you. They think that you will only be humiliated if you go, and lose the face of the Morong family. Later, if they want to challenge you, you can show your power. Actually, Morong Jishui did not think that Yi Chun would be able to beat the elders of the Morong family. He hoped that Yi Chun would be able to exchange dozens of attacks with them, and that would be enough. No matter how powerful the young warriors of the Yuan family were, there would still be a limit. The so-called humiliation would only happen when there was a huge gap between them. Don't worry, uncle. Yi Chun nodded his head. Yi Chun, although I do not agree with Qingqing marrying into the Yuan family either. Not just anyone can get our support. If you want to get our support, you have to show us your power first. How about this? If you can take 50 attacks from me without losing, then I, Morong Wu, will stand on your side. Otherwise, you will have to go back to where you came from. The Morong family cannot afford to lose its face. As you wish. Yi Chun sighed, his eyes turning sharp. This is not a good place to battle. Let's go to the battling field. Morong Wu was the first to fly out of the hall. Let's go and have a look as well. A lot of the elders were still hesitating. They wanted to resist the Yuan family, but they also wanted to feel that it was worth it. If it was not worth it, then why would they break the rule of the demi-demon family? Even if it was a martial genius that the Dragon King thought highly of? Yi Chun, let's go. Morong Jishui and Yi Chun followed behind. The battling field of the Morong family was very vast. It was surrounded by mountains, and there were some tall buildings built on top of them. Shoo! Shoo! All of the elders of the Morong family landed on top of the mountains, while Morong Wu and Yi Chun landed in the middle of the battling field that was surrounded by mountains. Looking at the two figures on the battling field, a lot of the elders started to discuss. Morong Wu is one of the top warriors of the Morong family. Taking 50 attacks without losing is a bit harsh. How can it not be harsh? Being humiliated here is still better than being humiliated in the Yuan family. Yeah, I wonder how much of his power he will bring out. Chapter 535. Hearing everyone's discussion, Morong Jishui could not help but think to himself, Yi Chun, don't disappoint me. You and I have the same goal. If you want to stand out, then my Morong family will do the same as well. Right now we are all in the same boat. We will share the same fate, and we will share the same fate. Morong Jishui knew that Yi Chun had a lot of potential, but he still did not know how powerful Yi Chun was. Demi-demons were different from humans, and their basic advantages were very obvious. After reaching the Sea of Souls realm, this advantage would be even bigger. For example, in terms of spirit bodies, the demi-demon spirit bodies would be even more powerful than humans. Moreover, once the Zhen Yuan was mixed with demonic qi, it would have some of the characteristics of demonic power, which would make it even more powerful than humans. If Yi Chun could not even handle 50 attacks from Morong Wu, then this plan would not work anymore. Boom! Qi waves clashed on the battling field. It was Morong Wu and Yi Chun attacking at each other. The Zhen Yuan qi that was leaking out of their bodies pressed against each other, forming two hemispherical membranes, each taking up half of the sky. All of a sudden, a bright blue light exploded out, looking extremely eye-piercing. Take my wave fist attack first. Morong Wu stomped on the ground and jumped up into the air. The dark blue light accumulated on his fist, and when it had condensed into a single point, he threw out a punch at Yi Chun. What? Using his water-profound fist art right from the start? Is Morong Wu planning to finish this battle quickly? Seeing Morong Wu attacking so aggressively, some of the masters were shocked. Facing this unknown fist attack, Yi Chun did not panic at all. His body stopped halfway as he reached down with his right hand, grabbing onto his gold sword and pulling it out. The second the gold sword was pulled out of its scabbard, a bright gold light shot out from the left side of Yi Chun's waist, shooting out toward Morong Wu, who was in midair. Inside that gold light were countless blurry sword shadows. Because of their extreme speed, they could not be seen with naked eyes at all. Only soul power could simulate them. Boom! 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 The dark green light and the golden light clashed together, bringing up hundreds of explosive sounds within a second. This kind of endless qi explosion sound could easily make a clasping Yuan realm warrior's heart beat faster, and get severely wounded. Even if a normal person was far away from it, their heart would still explode and die. What a fast sword speed. Morong Wu's fist attack was supposed to explode when it reached in front of Yi Chen. However, Yi Chen's sword attack speed was way too fast, and his sword was even faster. Once his fist was thrown out, the dark green light that had been accumulated on the tip of his fist exploded. That not-so-big fist seemed to contain the power of a river. The fist power was thick like water, surging and surging. Each wave was higher than the last, faster than the last, compressing the fist force into a single point, and exploding it in an instant. Amazing. In the first exchange, Yi Chen immediately sensed the profoundness of the raging wave's fist. To face this fist technique, he had to be faster than it. If he was hit, the consequences would be unimaginable. The surging fist energy and the countless sword shadows were like light and darkness, contending against each other, canceling each other out, and finally annihilating each other. Neither of them could do anything to the other. Not bad. Take another one of my raging waves kick. Morong Wu's body slanted as his right leg flew into the air like a shooting star, kicking at Yi Chen's head. This kick was extremely similar to the raging wave's fist, as it was also condensing the leg power into a single point before exploding. Yi Chen did not back out at all. His left hand, which was hanging by his waist, held the emerald longsword in a reverse grip and waved it up, drawing out a bright thunder arc boom. This exchange was different from the last time. Morong Wu's leg power had been split in half directly, and the rest of it was pushed back towards Morong Wu by the curved sword light. Even though he moved last, he got here first. Morong Wu was so shocked that cold sweat appeared on his forehead. It was him who threw out the raging wave's kick first, but his opponent's reaction was way too fast. It seemed like he had already prepared for it. Plus, that backhand sword attack had made him extremely uncomfortable. Just when his leg power had been condensed, it had been shattered, sliced apart, and even rolled back towards him. This Yi Chen does not seem to be simple. Both of Morong Wu's attacks had been cancelled out by him. His battling experience is very impressive. He is no weaker than Morong Wu, and his intelligence is even more powerful. He is indeed the martial genius that the Dragon King has chosen. Martial geniuses usually had very powerful intelligence. Even the older generation would not be able to compete with them, which was something that everyone had to admit. Of course, the masters who were watching the battle did not think that Morong Wu would not be able to do anything to Yi Chen, since the battle had just begun. Being blown back by his own leg power, Morong Wu looked at Yi Chen with surprise. "Alright, I thought you would not be able to handle even 80% of my power. But now, it seems like I have underestimated you. But the battle has just begun. Next, you will be facing the most embarrassing situation. You better be mentally prepared. It would be better to be embarrassed here than in the Yuan family." Morong Wu's battling intent had been ignited. He planned to attack with all of his power to see what kind of level Yi Chen had reached. Without enough power, he would not be able to go to the Yuan family. "Bring it on. I will make sure that you will be satisfied." Yi Chen's long hair danced in the wind. His whole body was like a sword that had just been taken out of its scabbard, ready to fly out at any second to kill the enemy. It was indeed this sword intent that had made Morong Wu develop this intense battling intent, making him consider Yi Chen as his opponent. Boom! Morong Wu exploded. A lot of dark blue Zhenyuan water flow extended out of his body. It was like a living thing, floating up and down. It was 100 meters long, turning the area within 100 meters into his territory. Once one entered that area, they would be restricted by the Zhenyuan water flow. Shoo! Morong Wu shot out toward Yi Chen. With the help of that Zhenyuan water flow, he looked like a massive human-shaped octopus, twisting the surreal space. Take this. It was the same wave fist art, but this time, Morong Wu's fist aura was even faster and more aggressive. As he attacked, dozens of Zhenyuan water flows tried to wrap around Yi Chen. Yi Chen threw out a sword attack at an extremely fast speed to cut down the incoming Zhenyuan water flow. However, he realized that after the Zhenyuan water flow had been cut down, it would still be able to reconnect. Moreover, after cutting down one, more Zhenyuan water flow would follow up. Under the interference of the Zhenyuan water flow, Yi Chen and Morong Wu exchanged an attack head-on and backed out dozens of steps. Shoo, 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 shoo. The Zhenyuan water flow followed right behind Yi Chen. If it were not for Yi Chen's sword speed and technique, as well as his super reflexes, he might have been trapped by the Zhenyuan water flow. Once he was trapped, the situation would be very bad for him. This water-sealing spell of mine is a combination of restriction, attack, and defense. It will limit your power and make you unable to focus on battling. Morong Wu secretly accumulated his power, preparing his ace attack. Senior, why don't you try my Zhenyuan silk as well? Yi Chen's body shook once, and countless blue silk threads spread out. They interweaved and formed into a couple of meters wide ball, covering Yi Chen within. Once those Zhenyuan water flows touched it, they would be sliced into pieces, unable to move an inch further. What? Zhenyuan silk? Not only Morong Wu's expression changed, even Morong Jishui and all the other masters of the Morong family were shocked. It was not that they had never seen Zhenyuan silk before, but they had never seen anyone use it to such an extent as Yi Chen did. He was able to use his body as the center and spread out the Zhenyuan silk threads, forming into a ball to protect himself. What kind of controlling power was required to do that? So troublesome, Morong Wu was starting to have a headache. Yi Chen's power had already exceeded his expectation, since he was able to use Zhenyuan silk to this level. Seeing that his Zhenyuan silk threads had broken his opponent's water-sealing spell, even Yi Chen himself was a bit surprised. He had learned this Zhenyuan silk from Chu Zhongtian's evil Yuan silk. When he was at the astral-reaching realm, he was already able to turn part of his Zhenyuan into silk and increase his attacking power. Once he reached the Sea of Soul's realm, his soul power would increase by 5 times, and his controlling power would naturally increase as well. His achievement in Zhenyuan silk had already reached beyond Chu Zhongtian, leaving him far behind. With the protection of the Zhenyuan silk, Yi Chen was not afraid of the Zhenyuan water flow at all. He flew towards Morong Wu at an extreme speed, throwing out a sword attack. Swoosh! A crescent-shaped sword chi shot out. Seal! Morong Wu quickly pulled back the Zhenyuan water flow, gathering it in front of him. Boom! In the next second, that rich Zhenyuan water splashed out, and Morong Wu was blown backward. Gold resonant radiance sword attack. The Zhenyuan water flow disappeared as Yi Chen waited for the moment when Morong Wu's defense was at its weakest, and threw out his most powerful sword attack. Gold and blue sword light spread out everywhere. Good brat! Morong Wu's pupils shrank. That sword attack had brought him a lot of danger. Wherever that sword attack went through, the space started to vibrate, and dense space folds started to spread out. Arm demonization. Break! At that critical moment, Morong Wu's right arm burst out with a strong black chi, which was very agile. It traveled inside his arm. Creak! Creak! The sound of muscles tightening was heard as Morong Wu's arm expanded within a second. Even the sleeves of his shirt had been torn apart, exposing the skin of his arm. No, it should not be called skin anymore. It was an arm that was covered in dense scales. Demon chi was rolling in the air, and the claws were huge. The streamlined muscles had a black luster to them. Tightening his fist, Morong Wu threw out a punch onto that gold and blue sword light. Shoo! Shoo! Burning sparks spilled everywhere. Morong Wu's feet rubbed against the ground as he slid dozens of meters away. Besides that 1 second of looking pale, he did not puke out any blood. This arm is just like a demon's arm. It blocked out my sword light with only 1 punch. Yi Chen stared at Morong Wu's right arm. If it were not for this sudden transformation, he would have been wounded for sure. Of course, as the 5th master of the Morong family, he might have a top-rank shield, but he had to rely on it to block out his own attack, which meant that he had lost the battle. He had forced the 5th to demonize his own arm. Morong Jishui gasped as he looked at Yi Chen in shock. All the other masters were shocked as well. Demonization was a taboo in the demi-demon family. Unless it was a critical moment, they would rarely use it to increase their power. Morong Wu could only demonize his right arm. But after that, his right arm would no longer be a normal arm. it would become a demon's arm, and its power would increase exponentially. What shocked them the most was that although that sword attack of Yi Chun had been shattered by Morong Wu himself had slid dozens of meters away as well. It was obvious that he could not suppress Yi Chun's attack at all. Did you guys feel it? The willpower of the sword attack had increased a little bit. Yeah, I had the same feeling as well. Some of the masters had noticed it. Chapter 536. His right arm felt like it had just been electrocuted, numb and numb. Morong Wu's eyebrows flicked as he recalled what had just happened. When his fist landed on the sword light, it felt like he had clashed with a mountain of gold. That intense vibrating power had layered on top of each other, acting on his right arm. This sword attack had vibrated more than 2,000 times within a second, which made it hard for me to concentrate my power. Plus, the sword intent of this attack was even more powerful, making the sword light even more condensed, like the toughest steel board. Rank 4 peak level sword spirit. Thinking about that sword intent carefully, Morong Wu came to a shocking conclusion. Yi Chun's sword intent was actually at the peak level master level, which meant that his sword spirit had already reached rank 4 peak level. But it made sense, since he was only at peak level early Sea of Soul's realm, and he had not mastered all of his profound sword movements yet. Only through his sword intent would he be able to make up for this disadvantage. Alright, the battle is over. Now, is there anyone who still doubts Yi Chun's power? Morong Jishui took a deep breath as he looked around. All of the masters shook their heads. After Morong Wu's right arm demonized, although he could perform some hidden ace attacks, this Yi Chun might still have some ace attacks. All in all, Morong Wu was indeed at a disadvantage. Indeed, with this kind of power, it would be more than enough for him to go to the Yuan family. As for the risk there must be, it would be weird if there was no risk at all. Hearing the master's discussion, a smile appeared on Morong Jishui's face. Morong Wu was a top spirit warrior, and after demonizing his right arm, his overall power had increased by 20 to 30%. He was not that far away from the master level. So, the fact that Yi Chun could get the upper hand was already way beyond his expectation. Yi Chun, I admit that I have underestimated you. On the battling platform, Morong Wu's right arm had not changed back yet. Once a demi-demon demonized, it would take a while for it to return to normal. Putting the gold sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chun said, "This is not important." Yeah, it is indeed not important. Whether I underestimate you or not, the result will be the same. Letting out a breath, Morong Wu continued. My niece, Qingcheng, will depend on you to bring her back. Do not disappoint me. I believe that you will definitely succeed. Morong Wu was the same as Morong Jishui. He did not want Morong Qingcheng to marry into the Yuan family. But of course, his purpose was even purer than Morong Jishui's. Yi Chun nodded. I will. Among the young generation of the Yuan family, you have to be careful of 3 people. One is Yuan Hao, who is the brother of Yuan Yi. The other is Yuan Jia, who is the youngest uncle of Yuan Yi, who is below 40 years old. And the last one would be Yuan Yi. These 3 are very powerful. As for exactly how powerful they are, the spies of our Morong family are not very clear about it. As for the other young warriors, they should not get involved. The Yuan family is not that harmonious internally, and there are a lot of different factions. Morong Wu reminded Yi Chun. Yi Chun nodded again. Actually, he did not have much confidence either. Below 30 years old, he thought he had 90% confidence. But below 40 years old, there would be too many uncertainties. Training 10 years more or less would sometimes make a huge difference. The only thing he could do now was to try his best. Yi Chun, follow me. The rest of you can go now. Morong Jishui left behind a sentence before flying toward the inside of the Morong family. Yi Chun followed right behind him. Inside a huge tower, Yi Chun and Morong Jishui arrived at the highest floor, the 21st floor. Each floor of the tower was very tall, 7 to 8 meters tall. The 21st floor would be 150 to 60 meters. Standing on the 7th floor, one could see most of the buildings inside the Morong family. Morong Wu's power. What do you think? Morong Jishui asked. Yi Chun said, not too bad. If I use all of my power, I can beat him within 10 attacks. It was not an exaggeration. After battling with Morong Wu for a while, he had already calculated his overall power, including the increase of his right arm after demonization. Oh, Morong Jishui turned his head and looked at Yi Chen with surprise. Yi Chen, can you tell me what rank your sword soul is? Is it peak level rank 4 or rank 5? Peak level rank 4. Yi Chen was telling the truth. Although his sword intent seemed to have surpassed the master level sword intent, the rank of his sword soul was still at peak level rank 4. As for the reason, it was very simple. It was because his sword soul was the slaughter sword soul, which was at peak level rank 4. It was more powerful than a normal peak level rank 5 sword soul. Of course, he did not use the slaughter sword soul during the battle with Morong Wu. Instead, he used the normal sword soul embryo with the destruction element. His normal sword soul embryo was actually not normal at all. Just like the slaughter sword soul, it had already developed a willpower, which was equivalent to a normal peak level rank 2 sword soul. Combined with the destruction element, it would be equivalent to a normal rank 4 sword soul, which was a master level sword soul. He knew it very well that although the peak level rank 4 slaughter sword soul was only equivalent to a normal peak level rank 5 sword soul, and it would not be as powerful as the ones in front of it. But with the increase of the rank, the difference would be even bigger. Going from rank 3 to rank 4, and from rank 4 to rank 5 would have a totally different meaning, because a rank 5 sword soul would be a king-level sword soul, just like how a rank 4 sword soul would be a master-level sword soul. Peak-level rank 4. No wonder. I did not expect you to be this powerful in the sword art. I am just like the others. I have underestimated you. After the surprise, Morong Jishui laughed, feeling very good. This time, no matter if he won or lost, he would not regret it at all. Yi Chen's potential was beyond his imagination. With enough time, he would definitely be able to create a miracle, since he had just reached the Sea of Souls realm not long ago. As long as he could increase his cultivation and profound sense martial arts, there would not be many people in the Sea of Souls realm who would be able to compete with him. This kind of person was born to be a king. What if he reaches the life and death realm? This thought suddenly flashed through Morong Jishui's mind, and he was shocked by himself. He finally understood why the Dragon King valued Yi Chen so much. He must have already seen how powerful Yi Chen was. This kind of horrifying martial genius was rarely seen in history. Once he became a life and death realm warrior, all of the powerful warriors in the whole continent would be shocked. With that thought in mind, he put himself in the Dragon King's shoes. From his perspective, no matter what, he would not give up on Yi Chen, this martial genius. For him, he would even fight against the king warriors. The bigger the investment, the bigger the profit. Anyone who dared to bully the weak would be going against the Dragon King. Once the Dragon King got angry, the consequences would be horrifying. I guess even Yi Chen himself did not know how important he was. For him, the Dragon King would do anything. Morong Jishui glanced at Yi Chen, feeling very excited. With the Dragon King protecting Yi Chen, breaking the rules of the demi-demon family that had been around for thousands of years would be nothing. Since the Dragon King had already bet on Yi Chen, why couldn't he? The Dragon King's vision was not something he could compete with. This brat will definitely turn the world upside down in the future. Following behind him and cheering for him would be the honor of our Morong family. With that thought in mind, the way Morong Jishui looked at Yi Chen had changed. Deep in his heart, he had already considered Yi Chen as a powerful warrior. In front of him, he seemed to be a little bit smaller. It was not shameful, not at all. Some people were destined to be the ones who could not see the truth clearly. Hee. About the demi-demons, I have not told you everything yet. So, it would be fine if I tell you now. Clearing his throat, Morong Jishui said. Do you know what the demonization is? Yi Chen guessed. Is it because of the demon's bloodline? Indeed. Every member of our demi-demon race has half, or less of the demon's bloodline. The demons are a race that is even more powerful than the human race. Having their bloodline is a good thing, but also a bad thing. It all depends on whether or not you can control the bloodline of the demons, such as the demonization ability. You have seen it yourself. Morong Wu could demonize his right arm, and after that, his right arm would turn into a demon arm. I believe I do not need to say more about the power of the demons, right? Yichen nodded. Indeed, the demons were very powerful. Back in the parallel space battlefield, he had witnessed the battle between the Demon King and the three King Warriors. That Demon King had been sealed for hundreds of thousands of years and was at its weakest state. But still, it was able to beat the three King Warriors so badly. It was not hard to imagine how powerful the demons were, which was hard to describe with words. The demonization ability can only be mastered after reaching the Sea of Souls realm. If it happens before the Sea of Souls realm, it would most likely turn into a murderous demon that had lost its mind. That would be the sign of not being able to control it. But once you reach the Sea of Souls realm, you would usually be able to control the demonization a little bit, and it would not happen again. Look at me, my demonization ability is even more powerful than Morong Wu's. As he spoke, Morong Jishui's left and right arms both started to expand. Demon Qi rolled in the air, and the fingernail-sized black scales reached all the way to his shoulders. That streamlined muscle gave people a metallic shine, containing an extremely horrifying power and defense. The reason why my demonization ability is even more powerful than Morong Wu's is not only because I can demonize both of my arms, but also because I can get out of the demonization mode as I please. Crack! Crack! The scales disappeared, and Morong Jishui's arms soon returned to normal. Get out of the demonization mode as you please? Yi Chen had seen Morong Wu's right arm being unable to return to normal even after a long time. This Morong Jishui was not just a little bit more powerful than Morong Wu. Smiling lightly, Morong Jishui asked, "How is it?" "Very powerful. Does the demonization have any side effects?" Yi Chen asked. Letting out a sigh, Morong Jishui said, "Yes. Demonization is a double-edged sword. The more you rely on it, the greater the consequences you will have to bear in the future. After all, we are human devils, not members of the demon race. Demonization is the same as developing into a demon race. Unfortunately, even if our whole body is demonized, we are not members of the demon race. There is an invisible abyss between one race and another race. Those who want to cross it will fall and break their bones. Therefore, unless it is a critical moment, we will not use demonization. This thing will erode our body. Once our body is completely eroded, it will erode our soul until we lose our reason. That's right. Demonization is a double-edged sword. The more you rely on it, the greater the consequences you will have to bear in the future. There are a lot of people who hate demi-demons on this continent because of this reason. They are afraid that there will be a demon king among us, or even a group of demon kings who have lost their minds. There must be some other reasons. Yi Chen did not think that the demi-demons would cause that much of a threat. First of all, the number of demi-demons would limit the influence of the demi-demons. There were 20 families, so how many demi-demons could there be? Adding all of them together, it would not be more than 1 million. How many of them would become demon kings, or lose their minds would already be horrifying. The chance of them becoming life and death realm warriors would be 10,000 times higher than the chance of human warriors becoming life and death realm warriors. Of course, part of it was because of their higher foundation. With a smaller population, the chance of them becoming powerful warriors would be higher. Chapter 537. How about this demonization? Since he was going to fight against the demi-demons from the Yuan family, Yi Chen had to figure out how much the demonization would increase his power. Morong Jishui said, "Demonizing parts of the body will increase in 2 ways, and it is a bit complicated. For example, if my right arm is demonized, then my right arm would increase by at least 30%, and my whole body would increase by 10%. If I demonize both of my arms, then both of them would increase by 40%, and my whole body would increase by 20%. If I demonize both of my arms and one of my legs, then each of them would increase by 50%, and my whole body would increase by 30%. The more parts that are demonized, the bigger the increase would be. So that is how it is." Yi Chen understood it very easily. Just like what Morong Jishui had said, after demonization, the increase would be in two ways, part and whole. As the number of parts that were demonized increased, the power of part and whole would increase by 10%. If he demonized all of his limbs, then each of them would increase by 60%, and the whole body would increase by 40%. Yichen wondered how it would be after he demonized all of them. By then it would be a huge increase, and it would not just be a 10% increase anymore. Yuan Hao and Yuan Jie's demi-demon bloodline is similar to mine, so they would be able to demonize at least one part, and possibly both parts. But of course, in terms of controlling ability, they would not be as powerful as me. As for Yuan Yi, you really have to be careful. He not only has the perfect demi-demon bloodline, but he is also at the mid-sea of Soul's realm. Once the demi-demons with the perfect demi-demon bloodline reach the Sea of Soul's realm, they would be able to master a special power that is even more powerful than the demonization ability. This power is not fixed, but it would be related to the demon's power anyway. Morong Jishui reminded him. The power of the demons? Yichen had heard about it from Morong Qingqing before. Although he did not know exactly what the demon's power was, he knew that it would not be simple, since the demons were a race that was even more powerful than the human race. Their power would not be normal at all. After thinking about it, Yichen frowned and asked, "The perfect demi-demon bloodline can master the demonization ability and the special power at the same time?" No. Morong Jishui shook his head. The perfect demi-demons will lose their demonization ability. They are the most perfect demi-demons, so they don't have to worry about losing their minds. As for the reason, I don't know either. Logically speaking, the perfect demi-demons have much more demon blood than us, but they don't have the ability to demonize. Of course, with their talent, they don't need the demonization ability at all, because the demonization ability is a burden to them. Hearing this, Yichen let out a sigh of relief. He had never personally experienced the side effects of the demonization ability. He only knew that the demonization ability could increase one's strength, and there was no doubt about it. If the other party had both the demonization ability and the innate ability, then it would not be easy to deal with them. The Yuan family is in the Gulan region of the eastern region, which is 18 million miles away from here. Even with the red-eye vicious bird that we raise, it would still take us more than a month to get there without any rest. Normally, it would take us 2.5 months. In 3 days we will leave, Morong Jishui suggested. Alright, we'll leave in 3 days. A sharp light flashed through Yichen's eyes. 800 miles to the north of the Morong family, there was a valley. It was not that big, only 4 to 5 miles long and hundreds of meters wide. There was a deep pond in the middle of the valley. There used to be a rank 7 weird fish, but it had been killed a couple of days ago, and its meat had been turned into soup. Right next to the deep pond, a couple of wooden houses had appeared out of nowhere. They were hidden between the rocks and the trees. Even if one walked into the valley, it would be hard to notice them. Shoo! A shadow shot into the valley through the entrance, arriving in front of the wooden house, like it was very familiar with the place. It seemed like he had known about the existence of the house a long time ago. Who is it? A low yell came from inside the house. It was a middle-aged man in black robes. His face was white without any facial hair, and he had a healthy body. He laughed. Iron Dragon, it is me. Why are you so nervous? The door opened, and the bulky man in black robes who was called Iron Dragon said helplessly, "Come in. I thought we had been discovered." Crack! As the door closed, the two walked in. The inside of the house was a whole new world. There were a lot of shiny crystals embedded on the walls, and there were a couple of tubes on the east side of the wall. On the other side of the wall, there were a couple of bulky men in black robes who were grilling meat. The aroma filled the air. While grilling, Iron Dragon asked, "Grey Eagle, how is the Morong family doing?" Morong Jishui is back, and he has brought a young man with him. Do you know who that young man is? He is the most powerful warrior among the young generation of the southern regions, Yi Chun. According to what I know, Morong Jishui does not seem to want his daughter to marry into our Yuan family. Inviting that brat here probably does not mean anything good. Ah, what a reckless aunt. His daughter being able to marry into our Yuan family is a blessing that he earned in his previous life. How could he not appreciate it? As for that Yi Chun, should we inform the family and have them send someone to kill him? That would be the end of it. Iron Dragon's face was full of killing intent. The middle-aged man shook his head. This kind of thing is not something you and I can decide. He is a martial genius that the Dragon King has his eyes on. If we kill him, the consequences would be too severe. Who knows, it might even be traced back to our Yuan family. Iron Dragon said with disdain. A dead martial genius is no longer a martial genius. I think the Dragon King would not turn against our demi-demon family for a dead man, right? Although our demi-demon family relies on him for a lot of things, he should not push it too far. Without him, we still have Xianhou behind us. Xianhou and the Dragon King were both top king warriors. The reason why the Dragon King helped the demi-demon family was because one of his disciples was a martial genius of the demi-demon family. Of course, there were other reasons as well. On the other hand, the reason why Xianhou helped the demi-demon family was because Xianhou had owed the demi-demon family back in the day. You cannot say it like that. The dignity of a king warrior should not be challenged. It would be hard to tell if the Dragon King would get angry or not. Once he gets angry, our demi-demon family would not be able to stop him. As for killing Yi Chun, it is not impossible, but we have to make sure that no one knows that it was done by us. Hearing Grey Eagle, Iron Dragon was a bit frustrated. He was right. The demi-demon family would not be able to stop the Dragon King, even if there were 2 demi-demon kings in his family. Thinking about that, a dark look flashed through his eyes as he thought to himself. Most of these human warriors are hostile to our demi-demon family. If we have a top demi-demon king, or even a demi-demon emperor, then they would not dare to mess with us, and the Dragon King would not turn against us that easily. Let's send the news back. Let the family make the decision, Iron Dragon suggested. Grey Eagle nodded. Indeed, we have to send the news back. This matter could be big or small, so we have to pay attention to it. Luckily, the family had sent us here to spy on the Morong family. I did not expect that we would actually find something like this. No wonder the leader of the family said that the Morong family is a disaster. As he spoke, Grey Eagle patted the beast tag on his waist, and a gray, weird-looking bird flashed out. It was only 1 foot long, with a very thin neck. Its body was streamlined, and its feathers were very smooth, shining with a gray metallic luster. Putting the paper with the news into a small bamboo tube, and tying it on the leg of the bird, Grey Eagle opened the door of the house, and threw the bird out. Chi! The bird screeched once before disappearing without a trace. 3 days later, in the morning, a couple of red-eye birds flew out from the biggest building of the Morong family, carrying Yi Chun and the rest toward the northeast. This time, it was not only Morong Jishui and Yi Chun who were going to the Yuan family, but also the head master Morong Wang, the 5th master Morong Wu, and 10 other powerful warriors of the Morong family. All of them were at early Sea of Soul's realm, so it was not hard to tell how powerful the Morong family was. The red-eye birds are rank 8 beasts, and their highest speed can reach 7 times the speed of sound. If we include the rest, we should be able to reach the Gulan region in 2.5 months. Of course, we could also make it 10 days earlier. There were 4 red-eye birds in total. Morong Jishui, Yi Chun, and Morong Wu were riding on one, while Morong Wang and 2 other powerful warriors were riding on the other 2. On the wide back of the birds, Morong Jishui stood right next to Yi Chun as he said to Yi Chun. Yi Chun did not really care about it. The red-eye birds were rank 8 beasts, and their speed could reach 7 times the speed of sound was already very scary. But his flying puppet was even faster than them. Once it was loaded with top-rank spirit stones, its highest speed could reach 10 times the speed of sound, and it could fly without any rest. So, it would probably take them a month to reach the Gulan region. Of course, he would not take it out unless it was a critical moment. On the back of the red-eye bird on the left, Morong Wang sneered. In his opinion, Yi Chun would be looking for trouble by going to the Yuan family. So what if he managed to beat Morong Wu? Could there not be another young warrior who was more powerful than Morong Wu in the whole Yuan family? You do not know how high the sky is. Once you reach the Yuan family, perhaps you will be too scared to say anything. Morong Wang thought to himself. Morong Jishui glanced at Morong Wang. To be honest, he did not want Morong Wang to go with them. But the latter was the headmaster of the family. Although he was not as powerful as him, he was still a top spirit warrior. When he was in his demonized mode, he might be able to compete with normal master level C of Soul's Realm warriors, even more powerful than Morong Wu. If he wanted to go, Morong Jishui would not be able to stop him, since the latter did not listen to him at all. I hope he will not cause trouble for me. Shoo! Shoo! The red-eye bird's speed was getting faster and faster, eventually maintaining at 7 times the speed of sound. In the east of the continent, inside the Gulan region. The Gulan region was full of power, and the two most powerful ones were the Yuan family and the Gulan martial school. The Yuan family was located near an abyss. There were so many tall buildings that one could not see the end of. Among the buildings, there were 2 towers that were very eye-catching. They were thousands of meters tall, looking like 2 huge swords that pierced through the clouds. And the ones who lived in the towers were the 2 demi-demon kings of the Yuan family. On the top floor of a similarly tall building, a middle-aged man in purple robes stood there with his hands behind his back, looking down at the buildings in front of him. The middle-aged man's eyes froze a bit, as he noticed that there was a tiny dot in the sky. Soon, the dot enlarged and arrived in the sky above the Yuan family. It turned out to be a foot-long gray bird, which was traveling at an amazing speed. Shoo! The gray bird circled around for a couple of times before landing on the window in front of the middle-aged man. The man waved his hand, and the small bamboo tube on the bird's leg landed in his hand. He took out the paper inside and opened it. After a while, the middle-aged man sneered. "What a reckless brat! How dare you come to the Yuan family? I will not let you off easily. As for the Morong family, it is time to take care of them. That Morong Jishui does not have the right to be the leader of the Morong family." Chapter 538. The space nearby vibrated a bit, and a gray shadow appeared there. "Headmaster, the 3rd and 5th master have brought them back. The leader of the Morong family has also come with them." The gray shadow's voice was very vague. If one did not know where he was, it would be hard to tell where the voice was coming from. The middle-aged man ordered, "Arrange a place for them to stay. Also send someone to watch over them. Without my permission, do not let them step out of the Yuan family." "Understood. Also, get Yi back, and let the 2 of them get to know each other better. Although there is no more suspense in this marriage, if they can develop feelings for each other, it would be even better. If they do, no one would be able to stop them." The middle-aged man was actually a little bit worried that something might happen. For him, this marriage would not allow any accidents to happen. Once it was done, no matter if it was the Yuan family or him, they would both benefit a lot. 2 perfect demi-demon bloodlines combined would also give birth to children with perfect demi-demon bloodlines. If there were 2 of them, then the Yuan family would have 4 perfect demi-demon bloodlines. Plus, all 4 of them would be on his side. So his great-grandfather and the headmaster would definitely side with him. "Headmaster, should we use the shadowless poison on the leader of the Morong family? With it, the success rate would be even higher, and that little girl would be more obedient," the gray shadow suggested. The middle-aged man thought about it for a while, then nodded. "You will do it. Remember, do it secretly." "Yes. All right. You go do what you need to do first." Hearing him, the gray shadow left without a sound. Turning around, the middle-aged man looked up at the blood-colored crescent moon in the sky. "I hope it does not come to that. But if it does, then it would not be my fault. This marriage can only succeed, and no failure is allowed. Whoever dares to stop it would be going against me." As the main family of the demi-demon race, the Yuan family had the most population, reaching a shocking 400,000. With such a huge population, there were naturally a lot of buildings. In the hundreds of miles radius around the abyss, there were all kinds of buildings. In a luxurious courtyard at the edge of the core region, 2 beautiful women were sitting on stone chairs and chatting. She was about 38 or 39 years old. Between her eyebrows, There was a charm that only a mature woman could have. An emerald green jewel hung from her earlobes, and she was wearing a luxurious dark green dress. Opposite of the mature woman was a much younger woman in a purple dress. Her face was covered with a veil, and through the contours of her face, one could see that she was somewhat similar to the mature woman. However, in comparison, she was more stunning. She had a pair of slightly purple pupils that were like two light purple gems. Her eyelashes were slender and curved, and her hair was like a waterfall. The latter was Morong Qingcheng. Qingcheng, do you think that brat will really come? The mature woman did not hold any hope. Morong Qingcheng was a little absent-minded. She took a sip of tea and said, "Since father went to find him, he will definitely come. I know him." "Oh, is it for you?" The mature woman showed an ambiguous smile on her face. Morong Qingcheng blushed. "Not necessarily. Anyway, he will come. But it might not be entirely for me. It would be great if he comes. Otherwise, you will really have to marry that Yuan Yi." The mature woman did not look happy. "The Yuan family is way too aggressive. They said that they invited you, but they were actually threatening you. Luckily, your father was not there that day. Otherwise, he would have to fight with the third and fifth master of the Yuan family. With his power alone, I am afraid he would not be able to win against them." Morong Qingcheng said with determination, "Whether he comes or not, I will not marry Yuan Yi. Worst case scenario, I will just die." Pausing for a second, she said again, "Mother, why did you come? If you come, I am afraid that they will use you to threaten me." The mature woman was indeed Morong Qingcheng's mother, Morong Jishui's wife. Her name was Su Ruhui. She forced a smile and said, "Do you think that if I did not come, they would let you go and threaten you? I am afraid that it would be even worse. Plus, I am the former third daughter of the Su family, so they would not be too reckless." There were more than 20 demi-demon families in total, and the Su family was one of them. Different from the Morong family, the Su family was way more powerful than the Morong family, at least in the top 5. No matter how aggressive the Yuan family was, they would have to show some respect to the Su family. "Plus, I also want to meet your father's old lover." Su Ruhui loved Morong Jishui a lot. As the former third daughter of the Su family, when she chose to marry Morong Jishui, there were a lot of obstacles. But in the end she succeeded. However, there was still a knot in her heart. She knew that there was someone else in Morong Jishui's heart, and that person was his first lover. Morong Qingcheng asked curiously, "What will you say when you see her?" "Nothing much. I just want to see what kind of person she is. My eyes are very accurate." Su Ruhui laughed. "Oh right, I have not seen that brat yet. When he comes, I will take a good look at him for you as well." The wind was blowing, and it was sharp like blades. 4 7-meter-long red-eyed birds flew at an extreme speed, shuttling through the clouds. Because of the extreme speed, a layer of air appeared 2 meters in front of the birds. It was very thick, and was formed by countless compressed air particles. It was a natural barrier. Inside the air layer, Yi Chun and the rest were all sitting on the back of the birds. The journey was too long, so they would occasionally wake up from their training mode and say a few words. But most of the time, they were training and adjusting their breathing. The back of the birds was very wide. Even with the 3 of them sitting on it, it still looked very spacious. If they squeezed a little, it could easily fit dozens of people. Yi Chun was sitting a bit to the right in front of him. "When I first reached the Sea of Soul's realm, my slaughter sword spirit and that normal sword spirit had both been strengthened quite a bit. The slaughter sword spirit was only rank 4, which was comparable to normal rank 5 sword spirits. But because of the huge increase in soul power, it naturally reached the peak of rank 4. But the normal sword spirit had been nourished by a huge amount of soul power. So why did it not reach the sword spirit level? It was just a bit more powerful." Yi Chun could not quite understand it. Opening his eyes, Yi Chun let out a breath. His deep eyes went through the air layer and looked at the world outside, where the clouds were rolling and changing. Right then, Morong Jishui had also stopped training. Seeing Yi Chun's pondering expression, he chuckled. "You are so hard-working. I always see you thinking." Yi Chun shook his head and said, "There are too many things that I do not understand. It seems like the more powerful I am, the more things I do not understand. Even some of the simple things that I have experienced before, I do not understand much anymore. Oh, Morong Jishue was a bit surprised. You are right. The more powerful I am, the less I understand this world. Before, we could only see the surface, and thought that it was everything. But now that we know the essence, we realize that the surface is just like a floating cloud. Essence. Floating cloud? A beam of light flashed through Yi Chen's mind, as if something had suddenly become clear. He was afraid that the inspiration would disappear soon, so he immediately closed his eyes and entered the training mode. Morong Jishue was shocked, and then smiled bitterly. He shook his head and also started training. Essence. Right, I have never paid attention to the essence of the sword spirit. The sword spirit is the condensed sword intent, which is the will, which is the external expression of the soul power, which is equivalent to the power of the soul. Since I want to condense the sword spirit, it must be related to the soul power. I have never thought about this before. The reason why I can condense the slaughter sword spirit is because it is natural, not intentional. Clang, 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 clang. In fact, this sound did not exist at all. It was simulated automatically in Yi Chen's mind, and only Yi Chen could hear it. Above his soul sea, next to the dark red slaughter sword spirit, there was a rather illusory ancient longsword. This ancient longsword was the sword spirit embryo. Next to the sword spirit embryo, a silver hammer was hitting the sword spirit embryo, bringing out illusory silver sparks. The silver hammer was created by the soul power. A smile appeared on Yi Chen's face. Just as he had expected, the sword spirit embryo's density had increased. It seemed slow, but it was actually a couple of times faster than before. Morong Jishue's unintentional words had solved a problem for Yi Chen. Since the essence of the sword spirit was the external expression of the soul, then using the soul power to train it would be the perfect way to train the sword spirit. Right? Oh right, since I could think of it, why didn't the Battle King think of it? Yi Chen suddenly thought of this question. According to the information that the Battle King had sent into his mind, training the sword spirit was all about learning and using more, but not training. Is it because they can't do it? After reaching the life and death realm, although the soul power would increase drastically, the rank of the sword spirit would be higher as well. So the soul power would still not be able to train the sword spirit. After thinking about it, Yi Chen felt that this was the only explanation. It was because his soul power was 5 times more powerful than the other Sea of Souls realm warriors, which was why he could condense his soul power into the shape of a hammer and hit the sword spirit embryo. But the other Sea of Souls realm warriors would not be able to do it. Even the Battle King could not do it when he was at the Sea of Souls realm. Once he reached the life and death realm, although his soul power would be more powerful, but the rank of his sword spirit would be higher as well. So he would not be able to do it either. It seems like this is my talent, and no one else can learn it. Regardless, Yi Chen was in a good mood. He had found a shortcut to speed up the development of his sword spirit. Time passed quickly, day and night alternated. On the 7th day after Yi Chen had learned the essence of the sword spirit, the red-eye beast carried everyone to the eastern region. Right then, there was only 1,000,000 miles left before they reached their destination, the Gulan region. Ting! The moment the night arrived, a sword ting sound echoed in Yi Chen's head. 7 days ago, the vague sword spirit embryo had finally been completely condensed. If the sword spirit embryo was an iron sword that was not that sharp, then the completed sword spirit would be a great sword. The edge of the sword was extremely sharp, and the light of will power was like the cold light of the sword, making people's hearts skip a beat. The second sword spirit done, Yi Chen abruptly opened his eyes. The dark sky suddenly brightened up, as if a flash of lightning had flashed across the sky, or a beam of sword light had appeared. Chapter 539. Morong Jishue and Morong Wu, who were only a couple of meters away from Yi Chen, did not notice anything strange about Yi Chen. Compared to before, Yi Chen's control over his sword intent had already reached the top level. The second sword spirit was formed, he did not leak out any sword intent at all. Indeed, the third sword spirit has been formed. Letting out a breath, Yichen focused all of his attention on his Sea of Soul. Above his Sea of Soul, besides the slaughter sword spirit and the second sword spirit, there was another illusory, ancient-looking longsword right next to the second sword spirit. This longsword had a dim light, like an abandoned iron sword. However, on the surface of this longsword, there was a bright light of willpower as well. The third sword spirit is just like the second one, which is as powerful as a normal rank 2 sword spirit. As for the second sword spirit, it has already reached the peak of rank 3. Combined with the destruction or immortality element, it would be as powerful as a peak rank 4 sword spirit. In other words, without the slaughter sword spirit, destruction or immortality element, Yichen's second sword spirit would only be below the master level sword spirit. Once it was combined with the destruction and immortality elements, its power would reach the peak of rank 4 sword spirit, which would not be weaker than any master level sword artist. The reason why the slaughter element was imprinted on the first sword spirit and formed the slaughter sword spirit was because it had slaughtered enough people. If I want to imprint the destruction element on the second sword spirit, I must comprehend the true essence of destruction. Once the destruction sword spirit is formed, its power will be even greater than the slaughter sword spirit. Shaking his head, Yichen was confused. He was wondering how many sword spirits he could form in the end. According to his estimation, there should be 3 sword spirits, which were the slaughter sword spirit, the destruction sword spirit, and the immortality sword spirit. After all, there were only 3 elements in his Sea of Soul. Of course, it was just an estimation. Who knew if there would be a 4th or 5th sword spirit? If there were, he would have to think about why. He could not even figure out what had happened to him. So what else could he figure out? The slaughter sword spirit and the second sword spirit are resonating. Right then, Yichen found out something amazing. Inside his Sea of Soul, the slaughter sword spirit and the second sword spirit had some kind of connection. It was very weak, and if he did not sense it carefully, he would not be able to sense it at all. Moreover, he found out that as the connection was formed, the slaughter sword spirit and the second sword spirit were condensing at a very small speed, as if they had formed a resonance field. A wave of strong flow blew past, causing the bird to shake a little. Morong Jishui and Morong Wu were both startled awake. Looking at the environment under the cloud ocean, Morong Jishui laughed. We have entered the Gulan region. In about 2 to 3 days, we will reach the biggest city near the Yuan family, the Ancient Wind City. Shall we go to the Ancient Wind City first? Yichen asked. Morong Jishui nodded. Right now, going to the Yuan family would be like entering a tiger's den. Although they would not kill us, they would still be able to imprison us. Once the wedding is over, it would be pointless for us to come out and cause trouble. So we cannot be reckless. You're right. Yichen thought about it and agreed with him. If he entered the Yuan family on his own, there would be a big chance that he would be imprisoned. Then, the other party would be able to say that he was imprisoned because he had intruded into the Yuan family. Right then, Morong Wu said, "Third brother, the Yuan family would not be easy to mess with. I am afraid that our operation would not be that smooth. Even if they are not easy to mess with, we will have to. We have no way out now." Morong Jishui said viciously, then looked over at Yichen. Yichen looked very calm, but there was a sharpness in that calm look. Ancient Wind City. It was one of the most famous big cities in the Gulan region, which was hundreds of thousands of miles away from the Yuan family. Inside the city, there were a lot of martial institutions branches, which were basically used to protect the local businesses. After all, the martial institutions were too far away, and it would be impossible to have no security. Yuan Yi, I lost to you 2 years ago. Today, I will take it all back. On the street, 2 young men were confronting each other. The one who was talking was in his 30s. His long hair was tied up by a yellow band, and there was a dirt-colored battle blade on his back. The blade intent was shooting out of it, easily blocking out the incoming blade intent. The handsome young man who was also in his 30s sneered. Gao Yunfeng, You are a powerful warrior as well. Unfortunately, you should not have come to me. 2 years ago, you were not my opponent, and 2 years later, you will be even more so. I am not interested in competing with you. What? Are you scared? Scared? Huh. I am just not interested in wounding you. Perhaps, I might even accidentally kill you. Yuan Yi looked disdainful. Injuries and deaths are inevitable in battles. I Gao Yinfeng, do not care about it anymore. Alright, since you want to die that badly, I will fulfill your wish. Let's battle outside the city. A killing intent appeared in Yuan Ye's eyes as he flew toward the west gate. Gao Yinfeng followed right behind him. Hurry! Follow him. Yuan Yi is about to battle with Gao Yinfeng, regardless of life or death. All of the warriors who were watching were excited as they followed. On the empty wasteland outside the city, the wind was blowing hard. Two human figures kept crossing each other, bringing up a chi power that was enough to tear the ground apart. Burning fire blade, Gao Yinfeng faced the incoming wind and threw out a blade attack. This blade attack was extremely hot, and even the air had been heated red. It spread all the way toward Yuan Yi, who was not far away. You have overestimated yourself. Yuan Yi reached out his right hand and formed a fist in the air. All of a sudden, circles of light black pattern appeared on the edge of his fist. The pattern expanded rapidly, covering half of the sky. The wind stopped suddenly, and the place became deathly silent. Die! Yuan Yi threw out a fist attack toward Gao Yinfeng, who was standing in front of him. Pooh! The burning blade chi had been shattered, and Gao Yinfeng puked out a huge amount of blood. His face looked extremely pale, as if he had lost a lot of his life force. Falling heavily onto the ground, Gao Yinfeng puked out a mouthful of blood and said, I did not expect you to have trained your killing water fist art to more than 100% already. I have not lost for nothing. I thought this fist attack would be enough to kill you. You are pretty tough. Don't worry, that fist attack did not kill you, so I will not attack again. Yuan Yi walked over and stepped on Gao Yinfeng's head, pushing it into the mud. If you want to fight against me, then you will have to be prepared to be killed or humiliated. You are very lucky. Seeing this, a lot of warriors shook their heads. The competition between the young generation of the eastern region was very intense. Therefore, the battles were very cruel and cold. Leaving the battling area, a gray shadow appeared right next to Yuan Yi. It was very easy for people to ignore it, since it was mixed with the color of the mud. Uncle Huang, what are you looking for me for? Yuan Yi said lightly. Your fiancée is here. The headmaster asked you to go back early and build up your relationship with her. A voice was heard from the gray shadow. A smile appeared on Yuan Ye's face as he said, I have heard from the spies that this fiancée of mine is so beautiful. I would like to go and see for myself. Your fiancée will be your wife in the future. But there is one thing that you have to pay attention to. This fiancé of yours has a good friend, and his name is Yi Chen. Right now, he is almost here in the Gulan region. Whether or not you can get married successfully will depend on your own power. Yi Chen. I know. Isn't he just a lucky guy who was chosen by the Dragon King? If he wants to come, then let him. But I will let him know what it feels like to have both his woman and his dignity taken away. I am afraid that he will not be able to get back on his feet. Haha. Yuan Yi did not care about Yi Chen at all. Indeed, the latter's talent might be higher than his, and he was a lot younger than him as well. But in front of power, it would not be a problem at all. Once one reached the Sea of Souls realm, age would be an advantage. It was just like the age difference between life and death realm warriors. The gray shadow said calmly, he is the martial genius that the Dragon King has chosen after all. You better be careful. I know what to do with him. An evil smile appeared on Yuan Ye's face as he said, let's go back. I am a bit impatient now. Shoo! Shoo! The two flashed their bodies, flying toward the Yuan family. After about the time it took to brew a pot of tea, 4 black dots landed from the sky. They were 4 7-meter long red-eye bird, with human figures standing on their backs. We have arrived at the ancient Wind City. Let's go down. When they were close to the ground, Morong Jishui jumped down and stood steadily on the ground. With a shoo, Yi Chen jumped down as well. This is the ancient Wind City. It looks like it has been around for a long time. Landing in Yi Chen's site was a very ancient city. The mottled walls told the world that this city had been through years of wind and rain. But it still stood strong. Moving his eyes away from the city, Yi Chen said with a bit of surprise, "So many astral-reaching realm warriors have gathered here. Did something happen just now?" Morong Jishui said, "I guess there was a battle earlier. Never mind it. Let's go in." Entering the city, the group chose a luxurious hotel to stay in. The night was like water, and the ancient Wind City seemed to be a lot quieter. Inside the guest room, Yi Chen quietly released his soul power. His powerful soul power covered the entire ancient Wind City within a second, allowing him to sense every corner of the city. There are quite a lot of Sea of Souls realm warriors here. Yi Chen's soul power was way more powerful than normal Sea of Souls realm warriors. Scanning out with his soul power, he would not be noticed at all. It was just like when he was at the astral reaching realm, where he used his soul power to scan out astral reaching realm warriors. There were more Sea of Souls realm warriors in the ancient Wind City than Yi Chen had expected. Most of them were training, and some of them were doing secret things. Of course, because the soul power was too scattered, Yi Chen would not be able to intercept their voices. He could only tell what they were saying from their mouths. Where is Morong Wang going? He was about to take back his soul power when Yi Chen sensed that Morong Wang had left the hotel and was flying toward the west, leaving the ancient Wind City soon. This guy. A cold light flashed through Yi Chen's eyes. To the west of the city was the Yuan family. With the speed of a spirit warrior, he would be able to reach there in half an hour. Morong Wang thought that no one would know that he had left, since he would be able to sense it as soon as he scanned out with his soul power. But he did not expect that Yi Chen's soul power would be even more powerful than the Sea of Souls realm warriors, which allowed him to see his every move. Chapter 540. Let's see what he is up to. Yi Chen thought about it, and decided that he should still follow him. He did not like to be stuck in an unknown situation, so he had to take the initiative. Pap. The wooden window opened automatically, and Yi Chen flashed his body before jumping into the night. Tonight was a moonless night. If it weren't for the few stars providing a bit of pitiful radiance, the whole heaven and earth would be so dark that one wouldn't even be able to see their own fingers. However, this dark environment was like a fish in the water for Yi Chen. His profound art, shadow separation, was even more effective in the dark. With his shocking soul power, Yi Chen and Morong Wang maintained a distance of 200 miles, following closely behind. Morong Wang's speed was very fast. Under the cover of the night, he looked like a flash of light blue light. If a normal person saw it, they would think that it was an illusion. One is crazy and overconfident, while the other is young and arrogant. He dares to go against the Yuan family. If the Yuan family were this easy to deal with, then they would not have been able to hold the leading position of the demi-demon family for the past tens of thousands of years. Morong Wang had not been optimistic about Morong Jishui and Yi Chen since the beginning. Therefore, he had already made up his mind that he would not work with Morong Jishui, choosing to stand on the side of the Yuan family. He knew that if Morong Jishui and the Yuan family went against each other, he would lose the leader position sooner or later, and might even be imprisoned. Although he did not want the leader position of the Morong family, but if it were his turn, he would naturally not let it go. Being the leader of the Morong family would more or less bring him some benefits. My son might even have the chance to marry the third lady of the Yuan family. Most importantly, if this marriage is successful, I might be able to get a copy of the demon's martial art. Although the demon's martial art might not be as profound as the human race's martial art, but after demonizing and using the demon's martial art, my power would increase drastically. I might even be able to compete with master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors. For this demon's martial art, I have to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Morong Wang's ambition was huge. He was only in his 60s right now, and in the next 250 years, he would have a chance to enter the life and death realm. Once he entered the life and death realm, he would be able to go to the continent the ocean, and even the stars. Therefore, before that, he had to become more powerful. Whoosh! With a slight air-piercing sound, Morong Wang's speed increased by a bit. What he didn't know was that over 200 miles behind him, a blurry shadow had been following him the whole time. He was fast, but so was the shadow. From time to time, a faint cyan sword light would flash across, causing the shadow's speed to increase drastically. 1.5 hours passed. Morong Wang could see the buildings of the Yuan family from afar. Who is it? On top of the watchtower, an astral-reaching realm warrior had discovered Morong Wang. It was mainly because Morong Wang had slowed down his speed to let the warrior see him. Morong Wang passed on his message. I am the headmaster of the Morong family, Morong Wang. I have something to discuss with your headmaster. Please let him know. Who are you? Who are our headmasters? What kind of things do we have to discuss at night? This astral-reaching realm warrior thought that Morong Wang was here to see him, so he did not think much of him. This tag, you should recognize it, right? Morong Wang did not try to explain. He took out a tag with the word gold carved on it and threw it over to the warrior. The headmaster's tag. The warrior recognized the tag. The headmaster's name was Yuan Jin, and his tag had the word gold carved on it. Obviously, this tag was given to Morong Wang by the headmaster. You wait. I will go let him know. All right. Morong Wang was not in a hurry. 100 miles away, Yichen stood on top of a huge tree, merging with the tree in the dark. Indeed, this guy is here for the Yuan family, and he even has the tag of the headmaster. Touching his chin with his palm, a cold light flashed through Yichen's eyes. He had decided that if Morong Wang did something that he could not tolerate, even if he was the headmaster of the Morong family, he would kill him. As long as it was not a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior, he would have 90% confidence. Soon, the astral-reaching realm warrior came out and gave the tag back to Morong Wang. Looking around, Morong Wang walked into the Yuan family. On the top floor of a rather tall building, the middle-aged man in purple robes and Yuan Yi were both there. There was also a gray shadow in the corner. Father, what is that Morong Wang doing here? Yuan Yi asked. The middle-aged man sneered. It is nothing more than his son and the martial arts of the demons. If this marriage works out, then his son's marriage will be arranged for him. But the martial arts of the demons will not even think about it. Only our Yuan family will have the martial arts of the demons. He is here. The middle-aged man in purple robes thought about the door on the top floor. With a creaking sound, Morong Wang pushed the door open and walked in. Greetings, Headmaster Yuan. Morong Wang held his fists together as he slightly lowered his head. It was indeed the headmaster of the Yuan family, Yuan Jin. The middle-aged man in purple robes said lightly. Morong Jishui and that brat have both come to the ancient Wind City? Yes. Morong Wang was not surprised at all that Yuan Jin knew about Yi Chen. As the headmaster of the Yuan family, he must be very well informed. All right, I have a mission for you here. The two did not have anything to discuss, but Yuan Jin had asked Morong Wang to come over. He needed him to do something for him, to make sure that nothing would go wrong. Just tell me what you need. This is a bottle of 3 disaster powder. Give it to Morong Jishui and Yi Chen. Then control them to come to our Yuan family. Hearing him, Morong Wang was shocked. What kind of effect does this powder have? It won't turn them into idiots, right? You know the Dragon King is behind Yi Chen. Morong Wang was worried that he would become a scapegoat. Of course I know that. This powder will only last for 3 days. During that time, they will lose their consciousness and be like walking corpses. When they wake up, they will forget everything that happened during that time. After they take it, you can give them simple orders. Originally, Yuan Jin was not planning to do this, but after thinking about it for a while, he still felt that this method would be safer and more stable. Father, if he wants to come, then let him come. We are not afraid of him. Yuan Yi said. Yuan Jin explained. This marriage cannot go wrong. Do you really think that it is already set in stone? Plus, after he takes the powder, you can use him to do something good and make your fiancé give up on him. Wouldn't that be killing 2 birds with 1 stone? Use him. Yuan Ye's eyes brightened. Today he had seen Morong Qingcheng. Although she was wearing a light veil, he could still tell that she was a stunning beauty, even more beautiful than all the other women he had seen. Because they both had the perfect demi-demon bloodline, he was even more attracted to her. However, she looked very cold when she saw him, so he could not force himself on her before the wedding. So he had to hold it in. If he could take care of this troublesome Yi Chen, things would go a lot smoother. It would not be impossible for them to fall in love with each other. Hee hee, father, you are so smart. A creepy smile appeared on Yuan Ye's face. 100 miles away from the Yuan family, Yi Chen's expression turned cold. His soul power could reach up to 500 miles away, so he could clearly see the movements of their lips. Naturally, he knew what they were talking about. These people, they deserve to die. An intense killing intent appeared in Yi Chen's heart. He did not care what kind of top-level people they were. As long as he had the chance, he would kill them all. My third brother is a master level Sea of Souls realm warrior. Will this 3-disaster powder really work? Master level Sea of Souls realm warriors had a very powerful willpower, and normal drugs would not be able to work on them. So Morong Wang had to ask. Yuan Jin was a bit hurt. Don't worry. The 3-disaster powder is made from the essence blood of 3 rank 10 beasts, along with some other rare spirit medicines. Even master level Sea of Souls realm warriors would not be able to handle it. Yuan Jin had spent dozens of years to collect all the ingredients, and he had only made 2 bottles. Each bottle's value would be immeasurable. It was not hard to tell how important this wedding was to him. Then, I will not worry anymore. Morong Wang let out a breath. Actually, he was a bit scared of Morong Jishui. If he was found out, he might be killed, even if he was his big brother. Alright, you go back first. Remember, you must succeed. Yuan headmaster, this is not a small risk. The demon's martial art that I mentioned, is it? Morong Wang wanted to get his hands on a martial art of the demons first. Yuan Jin's face turned cold. Wait until you succeed, then we can talk about it. You do not know how important the demon's martial art is to our demi-demon family. Then, alright. Morong Wang also knew the importance of the demon's martial art. He bit on his teeth and turned to leave. Before he left, an evil look flashed through his face. Morong Jishui, Yi Chen, don't blame me for this. Every man for himself. Waiting until Morong Wang left, Yuan Jin and Yuan Yi looked at each other and smiled, feeling that everything was under their control. In the night, Morong Wang followed the way he came, flying at an extremely fast speed. Yi Chen followed behind him quietly, his heart filled with killing intent. No one knew how long it had been, but the elder inside one of the 2 towers of the Yuan family woke up from his training. He subconsciously released his soul power, spreading it out in all directions. 1,000 miles, 5,000 miles, 8,000 miles. It reached 10,000 miles before stopping. The elder was one of the 2 demi-demon kings of the Yuan family. He had been in closed-door training all year round, and would occasionally go out to explore ruins. However, even if he was a demi-demon king, he would not be able to keep releasing his soul power for a long time. Therefore, he did not realize that Yi Chen was spying on the Yuan family. Right then, Yi Chen had already left for a long time. Who? The wind roared as Morong Wang pushed his speed to his limit. Headmaster, stay! A beam of sword light flashed through, and a human figure caught up. Morong Wang turned around to look, and his face turned blue. Yi Chen, how dare you follow me? Do you want to die? It is you who wants to die. Yi Chen's voice was very cold. What do you know? Morong Wang did not think that Yi Chen knew anything about the 3-disaster powder. None of this is important. Yi Chen's speed was as fast as master level Sea of Souls realm warriors. Soon he was already a couple of miles away. Taking out his gold sword, Yi Chen threw out a wave of sword chi toward Morong Wang. You? Morong Wang sneered as he threw out a blade attack toward the sword chi. Chapter 541. Morong Wang's blade was a long and narrow blue blade, which looked very light and agile. As he waved his right hand, the blade light was like a tornado, flashing across horizontally and clashing with Yi Chen's sword chi. Boom! The bright light ball exploded, and a deep hole appeared on the ground. Shadow shift. Yi Chen's body was like a ghost in the dark, as he avoided the explosion range of the light ball, and approached Morong Wang without a sound. The second he got close to him, he took out his gold sword again, and threw out dozens of sword attacks in a row. Each sword attack was as fast as lightning. Morong Wang had seen Yi Chen's fast sword before. However, it was Morong Wu who had been fighting with Yi Chen. Now that he was fighting with Yi Chen, he realized that his opponent's sword was way too fast. It was almost faster than his reflexes. Every single sword attack was extremely tricky, aiming at his blind spots. Ding! Dang! Relying on his intuition and rich battle experience, Morong Wang took a deep breath. He brandished his cyan long blade, and created a light screen, which protected him tightly. It kept bouncing off the sharp sword lights, and the dazzling sparks were like fireworks, exploding outside his body. Reverse Sky Thundercut. Holding the emerald long sword with his left hand, Yi Chen threw out a sword attack. The sword edge went through the gap of the blade light, and left a sword mark on Morong Wang's left rib. Morong Wang made a noise as he bent his knees, and jumped into the sky. Can you dodge it? Yi Chen and Morong Wang stood up almost at the same time, jumping into the sky. Along the way, he crossed his two swords together, attacking towards the sky. There was no time for Morong Wang to breathe, so he had to block it out with his blade. The crossing point of the two swords clashed with the long blade. All of a sudden, a thumb-sized thunderball was born. It expanded at an extreme speed, swallowing both Morong Wang and Yi Chen, and expanding at an even faster speed. In the next second, 100 meters wide thunderball exploded. The intense electric blast wave destroyed the area within a radius of dozens of miles, causing the mountains to collapse, the rivers to dry up, and the ground to crack open. Pooh! Puking out a mouthful of blood, Morong Wang was blown backward with smoke rising from his body. Impossible! How can he be so strong? Not only that, this sword intent is making it hard for me to concentrate. Morong Wang's eyes were filled with shock. He knew that Yi Chen was very powerful, and that he had the power to fight beyond his realm. Even his fifth brother, Morong Wu, was slightly weaker than him. But when Morong Wu was battling with him, he was not his opponent at all. Could it be that Yi Chen had been hiding his power during the battle with Morong Wu? Enough! Yi Chen, why are you attacking me? I am Qingqing's uncle. Going to the Yuan family does not seem to have anything to do with you, right? What? Do you want to turn against the Morong clan? Morong Wang didn't want to continue fighting with Yi Chen. He believed that even if he went all out, he might not be able to kill Yi Chen. Instead, he would be heavily injured, and the gains would not make up for the losses. It wouldn't be too late to give him the 3 calamity bewitching powder when he had the chance. If you don't want people to know, then don't do it. Do you really think that I don't know about you and the headmaster of the Yuan family? Putting both swords back into their sheaths, Yi Chen coldly looked at Morong Wang, who had suffered serious internal injuries. You know about this? Impossible. How could you possibly know about it? Morong Wang's expression turned evil as a hint of killing intent appeared in the depth of his pupils. Above the Zhen Yuan ocean in his dantian, the lotus heart sword chi vibrated slightly. Yi Chen looked at Morong Wang coldly. You should never have tried to trick me. Therefore you have to die. Haha. Morong Wang laughed out loud as he pointed his finger at Yi Chen and said angrily, Who do you think you are? What right do you have to be with my niece Qingqing? Let me tell you, I am trying to trick you, not letting you get what you want. What can you do to me? You are only a martial genius who was chosen by the Dragon King. Without the Dragon King, you are nothing. I can kill you if I want to. But since you know about this, I will not let you leave in one piece today. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too arrogant. He had decided that he would wound Yi Chen first before giving him the 3 calamity bewitching powder. I hope you can still be so stubborn before you die. Strands of sword light appeared between Yi Chen's 10 fingers. A silver light appeared in Yi Chen's pupils, as he saw through all of Morong Wang's weaknesses. With me, Morong Wang. Here. You are destined to be the same as Morong Jishui. A loser, a pitiful man. Demon eyes. Morong Wang smiled viciously as his right arm and right chest started demonizing. Scales with black qi appeared one after another, as his muscles expanded and expanded. Compared to Morong Wu, the range of Morong Wang's demonization was without a doubt larger, and the increase in his power was greater as well. The second Morong Wang started to demonize, Yi Chen flicked out all 10 of his fingers. Beams of lotus heart sword qi shot out like countless light beams. Ah! Morong Wang yelled out. He did not expect that Yi Chen would have this kind of ace attack, and it was so coincidental that he only started to attack when he demonized. It was obvious that the demonization would take some time. Little bastard, I will let you know what regret is. Taking out a huge tower shield with his left hand, Morong Wang curled up his body without thinking, hiding behind the shield. Ding! 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 The shield brought up thousands of sparks. The continuous power attack had made the bones in his left arm groan and crack. What made him grit his teeth, even more, was that the sword qi did not all go in a straight line. Some of them went around the shield and brushed past his body. Soon, blood splashed out from his body, making him look like a man made of blood. Such a huge shield, Yi Chen frowned. The tower shield was one of the biggest types of shields. If he slightly squatted down, he would be able to use it to protect his whole body. Let's see how long you can last. Stabilizing his right hand, Yi Chen reached out his index finger slowly. It seemed like he had used all of his power, as he stabbed out at the tower shield in the air. Buzz! Space rippled, and a huge cyan finger, ignoring the distance between them, pressed down on the tower shield fiercely. Crack! The tower shield was not damaged. Morong Wang, who was behind the shield, looked like he had suffered a heavy blow. He spat out a huge amount of blood towards the sky. The bones in his left arm were broken inch by inch, drooping down powerlessly. Damn it! The tower shield fell down, and Morong Wang's demonization was also completed. The current Morong Wang was not so much a human, but a half-demon and half-human. His right arm had swelled up to twice its original size, and the thickest part was like a wooden barrel. His right chest and left chest were completely different. Not only were they covered in black scales, they had also swelled up like a millstone. Even his head was tilted to one side. A pair of bloodshot eyes glared at Yi Chen, filled with anger and madness. Demonization cut. After demonization, a human demon would perform some killing moves according to the characteristics of the demonization. Of course, these killing moves were modified from the human race's martial arts, so they were not that powerful. However, when used with the demonized body, the killing power would undoubtedly be huge. Whoosh! The black blade light was like a black crescent moon, attacking towards Yi Chen. So fast. It was Yi Chen's first time facing a demonized human demon. He raised his eyebrow, and raised his gold sword to block in front of him. He then poured his dragon power into his right arm. Chin! The black blade light contained an unbelievable amount of power. If Yi Chen did not have the dragon power, he would have been blown away. However, with the dragon power, Yi Chen did not move an inch. That black blade light exploded with a sharp qi flow that shot out from both sides of his body. Get down! Morong Wang shot up into the sky and glided above Yi Chen's head. He then slashed down with his blade fiercely. This blade attack did not shoot out a black blade light, but a black light ball. The black light ball was like a small black sun. Before it even landed, it had already sunk a few hundred meters into the ground. Only the ground under Yi Chen's feet remained standing, like a thick stone pillar that was a few hundred meters tall. Crack! The stone pillar cracked open inch by inch as Yi Chen shot out towards Morong Wang. He held his gold sword with both of his hands and waved it out. That bright gold blue sword light was like the golden clouds in the sky. The small black sun and the golden clouds clashed with each other, stopping right there. Pap! 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 The first thing that could not handle it was the mud inside the deep pit. It cracked open piece by piece, and countless different-sized mud pieces floated up into the air, surrounding the two. Thunder exploded as the two suddenly separated. A circular shockwave exploded in the center, destroying all the mud pieces around them. Even this could not do anything to him? Morong Wang's face was full of shock. After demonizing, His right arm's power had increased drastically. For others, it would increase by 30%, but for him, it had increased by 40%. After all, his right chest had demonized as well. However, after battling with Yi Chen, he realized that Yi Chen's power was just as powerful. It was like there was a huge volcano inside his body. What should I do? Should I go back to the Yuan family and let them take care of him? Morong Wang's eyes flickered. A few hundred meters away, Yi Chen put his gold sword back into its scabbard. After taking a deep breath, he took out a dark blue longsword. It was indeed the Thunder Disaster Sword. Morong Wang was not Morong Wu. If the battle dragged on, although Yi Chen had 80 to 90% confidence that he could kill him, it would take too much time. If there were people from the Yuan family coming over, he might be able to escape. In order to avoid any accidents, he would have to take out his ace attack and finish it all at once. His ace attack was naturally the semi-extreme rank Great Sword, the Thunder Disaster Sword. Yi Chen, it is still not too late to stop now. Do not make a mistake. Morong Wang's eyes looked dark as he threatened. Chin. Yi Chen did not reply as he took out the Thunder Disaster Sword with his right hand. You can die now. As Zhen Yuan poured in, the sword's body started to vibrate. The next second, the entire sword body started to change, looking like a beam of lightning. Shoo! Performing his sword light flying spell, Yi Chen's speed reached its limit all of a sudden. Within 1/10 of a second, he had arrived in front of Morong Wang and threw out a sword attack. You will not be able to kill me. Stop it now. No. Morong Wang's eyes were wide open as the blue long blade in his hand was blown away. His head shot up into the sky, leaving behind a headless body. Morong Wang's eyes were wide open as the blue long blade in his hand was blown away. The head shot up into the sky, leaving behind only a headless body. That sword attack was not only fast enough to make people despair, but the power contained in it was also something that even his demonized right arm could not handle. It is a semi-extreme rank great sword. The head made an unconscious moan before losing its vitality. Chapter 542. Putting his sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen turned around and made a grabbing gesture with his palm. The tower shield, the long blade and the storage ring on Morong Wang's finger were all pulled over by an invisible power, and the tower shield and the long blade disappeared instantly. 3 disaster powder. I wonder what it is. What he cared about the most was still the 3 disaster powder. According to Yuan Jin, even Master Level C of Soul's Realm warriors would not be able to handle it. Invading the ownerless storage ring with his soul power, Yi Chen soon found a small black bottle. With a wave of his soul power, the bottle was taken out. Pop! Opening the bottle cap, Yi Chen looked inside and saw that it was half filled with a gray powder. He leaned over and carefully sniffed it. Without knowing what it was, Yi Chen only felt that his nose was a bit numb, and his consciousness slowed down for a second. Then, he did not feel anything at all. This 3 disaster powder sends its effect into the brain through the nerves, making people lose their consciousness. It seems like it would not work on me. Yi Chen's soul and willpower were way more powerful than Master Level C of Soul's Realm warriors. Even if he took the 3 disaster powder, it would only cause a short side effect. It would not even make him lose his consciousness, not to mention lasting for 3 days. Although it would not work on him, it would be a huge threat to Master Level C of Soul's Realm warriors. Putting away the 3 disaster powder, Yi Chen started to study Morong Wang's collection. This guy is quite rich. He has more than 300,000 top-rank spirit stones. This is the Earth Spirit Pellet, and there are 3 Heaven Spirit Pellets as well. Yi Chen still had less than 30,000 top-rank spirit stones left. It would be enough for training, but if he ran into a big auction, it would be hard for him to make ends meet. But now that he had more than 300,000 top-rank spirit stones, Yi Chen had become one of the richest Sea of Soul's Realm warriors. As for the Earth Spirit Pellets and Heaven Spirit Pellets, they were both top-rank pellets. The Earth Spirit Pellets could save a month of training for Sea of Soul's Realm warriors, while the Heaven Spirit Pellets could save 3 months of training. Morong Wang had 3 bottles of earth spirit pellets, each with 10 pellets and 3 heaven spirit pellets. Adding them all together, it would save 3 years of training time. Yes, this is a top-grade spirit stone. Yi Chen's expression froze. In the corner of the storage ring, Yi Chen saw a half-open small animal skin bag, from which a milky white light leaked out. Although this light was not bright, it was extremely condensed, as if a huge amount of light had been compressed together, releasing a shocking yuan qi vibration. Buzz! The animal skin bag was taken out. Yi Chen opened it and couldn't take his eyes off it. There were a total of 7 milky white crystals in the bag. These crystals were purer than diamonds, and there was not a single flaw. The 7 milky white crystals, and the palm-sized animal skin bag, weighed about half a kilogram. It was very heavy in his hand, and it was very heavy. It really is a supreme-grade spirit stone. Yi Chen took a deep breath. Top-grade spirit stones were different from top-grade spirit stones. They had been condensed into crystals, so they could be called top-grade spirit stones or spirit crystals. The spirit crystals contained within them were dozens of times purer than top-grade spirit stones. If I really want to convert them into top-grade spirit stones, one of them would be worth at least 5,000 top-grade spirit stones. In the true spirit continent, one mid-grade spirit stone could be exchanged for 50 low-grade spirit stones, and one top-grade spirit stone could be exchanged for 100 mid-grade spirit stones. Meanwhile, one supreme-grade spirit stone could be exchanged for at least 5,000 top-grade spirit stones. Of course, no one would be stupid enough to exchange the supreme-grade spirit stones for top-grade spirit stones, since top-grade spirit stones were easy to come by, while supreme-grade spirit stones were hard to find. For example, building a conveyor door would require supreme-grade spirit stones. No amount of top-grade spirit stones would be enough. Although these 7 supreme-grade spirit stones can be used for training, and the effect would be 10 times better than the heaven spirit pellet. But right now, I am at peak level early Sea of Souls realm, and I only need to make a breakthrough. The earth spirit pellet would be more than enough. Once I reach mid Sea of Souls realm, I would try not to use the spirit stones as much as possible. Using supreme-grade spirit stones to train would be too wasteful. According to what Yi Chen knew, normal life and death realm warriors did not even have that many supreme-grade spirit stones. Most of the time, they might not even be willing to use them. The one who had the most supreme-grade spirit stones would be Su King. Su King had found a small half of an extreme spirit vein under the ocean. That extreme spirit vein did not consist entirely of supreme-grade spirit stones. In fact, most of them were top-grade spirit stones, and the extreme spirit stones were less than 1/10,000th of them. However, 1/10,000th was already horrifying enough. A lot of king warriors were guessing how many extreme spirit stones there would be. Of course, they only dared to think about it, and did not dare to fight for it. Who would dare to fight for something from Su King? Even the Dragon King and Xianhe would not dare to do so, since they were not kings after all. Putting away the storage ring and the extreme spirit stones, Yi Chen let out a breath as he looked at Morong Wang's dead body. Boom! He threw out a punch, and the headless body and the head exploded into pieces, leaving no bones behind. Shoo! Yi Chen flew toward the ancient Wind City. Adding the time he spent in between, it was only 6 hours. When he got back to the restaurant in the ancient Wind City, it was already midnight, and no one had been alerted. On the second day, during breakfast time, Morong Jishui said curiously, "How come I did not see Morong Wang? Strange." Yi Chen smiled lightly, but did not say anything. Morong Wu said, "Who cares what he is doing? He is not on our side." In the demi-demon family, besides the parents and children, family ties were not that strong. The main reason for this was because of the intermarriage within the family. Once the intermarriage happened, everyone would be a relative. Therefore, once there were a lot of relatives, there would be no relatives at all. Plus, this Morong Wang had never been on good terms with them. After breakfast, the three went back to Morong Jishui's room. Morong Jishui said, "It would not be suitable for us to go to the Yuan family at any other time. We can only go during the wedding. In front of everyone, I believe they would not dare to do anything. Plus, there is a branch of the Yellow Dragon Palace in the ancient Wind City. If the Yuan family were to hold a wedding, they would definitely invite the top management of the Yellow Dragon Palace. What kind of people are there in the Yellow Dragon Palace? Yichen knew about the Yellow Dragon Palace. There were 5 palaces under the Dragon God Heaven Palace, which were the Azure Dragon Palace, Black Dragon Palace, White Dragon Palace, Red Dragon Palace, and the Yellow Dragon Palace. The first 4 were all in the East Shallow Ocean, and only the Yellow Dragon Palace was in the East region. The leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace in the ancient Wind City is the second leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace, Yao Yifeng, who is a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior. Morong Wu said, even the second leader was a master-level Sea of Souls realm warrior. Adding all the 5 palaces together, there would be more than 10 master-level Sea of Souls realm warriors. This Dragon God Heaven Palace was way more powerful than Yi Chun had imagined. He had thought that the number of master-level warriors in the Ao family would not be any weaker than the Dragon God Heaven Palace, but it seemed like he had been too ignorant. Clearing his throat, Morong Jishui continued to say, with the second leader Yao Yifeng here, the Yuan family would not dare to do anything. But the rest would be up to us. Specifically, it would be you, Yichen. You have to beat all of the young warriors of the Yuan family. Only then would you have the right to speak. Otherwise, it would only be a joke, and even the second leader Yao Yifeng would not be able to speak for you. Yichen nodded. If it really comes to that, I will not hold anything back. As long as you have the confidence. Oh right, since we have come to the ancient Wind City, we should pay a visit to the second leader Yao Yifeng. If we could communicate with each other, perhaps it would be a lot smoother. Yichen thought about it, and realized that it made sense. He had not had much contact with the people of the Dragon God Heaven Palace yet. He only knew the Dragon King himself, and the 2 senior brothers he had met in the Extremine place. With his power now, it would be time for him to meet some of the top warriors. After that, the 3 discussed some other things. Then, Morong Wu stayed in the restaurant while Yi Chun and Morong Jishui went to the Yellow Dragon Palace in the ancient Wind City. As a power of the Dragon God Heaven Palace, the Yellow Dragon Palace had occupied a huge area in the ancient Wind City. Even the Yuan family and the Gulan Martial School were not as big as them. From the front door of the Yellow Dragon Palace, 2 middle-aged men walked out. Brother Yen, have you heard? In a couple of days, a brat from the Yuan family will be getting married. I think they will invite us and the second leader to come. It was the middle-aged man with the yellow face who was talking. The bulky middle-aged man said with disdain, the Yuan family is not a good thing. Relying on the support of the leader in Xianhou, they have become more and more arrogant. A couple of days ago, that master of the Yuan family had dared to compete with me in the auction. Huh. The yellow-faced man laughed. Are you still angry about that? Hee. The ancient Wind City is an important city in the eastern region. You and I being sent here. I wonder how many brothers and sisters would be jealous of us. Be happy. There were a lot of Yellow Dragon Palace branches in the eastern region, but not every one of them had a second leader. To be more specific, the rest of the branches could only be called the headquarters. It was not hard to tell how important the Yellow Dragon Palace in the ancient Wind City was. Isn't this Yichen? The bulky middle-aged man was about to reply, but his eyes froze all of a sudden. He saw the young man in blue, and the middle-aged man in black walking over from the side. It is indeed Yichen. The yellow-faced man laughed. What is he doing here? Let's go. Yichen had also noticed them, so he walked over with a smile on his face. Brother Wang, Brother Yen, you are here as well. These 2 were indeed the 2 brother disciples that Yi Chun had met on his way to the Extremine place. One was called Wang Shi, and the other was called Yen Koei. These 2 had battled with the 6-finger man, forcing him to hand over the top-rank shield of his dead brother disciple. The 6-finger man wanted to vent his anger on him, but he was chased away by the 2. Wang Shi laughed. Yi Chun, what a coincidence. It has been a couple of years since we last met. You have reached the Sea of Souls realm. Peak level early Sea of Souls realm. TSK. Wang Shi and Yin Kuei were both shocked. Yichen was only 24 or 25 years old, but he had already reached the Sea of Soul's realm. This result was even better than Xianhou when she was young. No wonder the leader thought so highly of him. No, if it were not for the leader, this genius might have been taken away by other life and death realm warriors. The two could not help but feel lucky. Yichen, what are you doing here in the ancient Wind City? Yin Kuei asked. It is a long story. Uncle Morong and I are here to visit the second leader of the Yellow Dragon Palace. You guys are also from the Yellow Dragon Palace, right? Hearing him, Wang Shi and Yin Kuei looked at Morong Jishui with surprise. They could not tell his cultivation at all. Without any surprises, he should be a master-level Sea of Soul's realm warrior. But of course, the two were not people who had never seen the world before. They had even seen life and death realm warriors before. A master-level Sea of Soul's realm warrior would not be worth their attention. Wang Shi nodded. Indeed, I will take you to the second leader. Let's go. Thank you, brother disciples. What are you thanking for? We might be family in the future. Oh right, the second leader is a bit strict. You guys should be prepared. Yin Kuei laughed. Yichen's status is different. How could the second leader be rude to him? You are right. The four of them talked and laughed as they entered the Yellow Dragon Palace. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.